Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
And welcome to the Badass Counseling Show. Lightning round, it is great to have you here. Whether you are tuning in from Rio or upstate New York, or maybe you're catching us over on one of the islands off of Portugal or somewhere out in the Pacific, we have people in from all sorts of islands everywhere, and even Ireland. It's great to have you here tuning into the Badass Counseling Show. We love you. We love the questions that you bring. And if you're one who just sort of sits back and listens to the questions and the answers, we just love having you along for the ride. Hey, man, we're going on a fucking road trip in the next hour here. So let's go ahead and say hello to my team. I've got KC over in the booth. You can't see her or hear from her, but you can say your mythical hello. In her vocal absence, I have Rob the Rocket next to me. Rob, what's the good word today, my man?
Love being on the road with you, sir, so drive on.
Indeed we shall. Here we go. Laura's World asked the question on TikTok, why on the rare occasion do I long for the extreme taker that I'm over? I was married to him for 28 years. That's real simple, Laura. Why do you long for that extreme taker that you're over? Because you're not fully over him, and that's okay. There are times coming out of a relationship, whether it's a month, a year, hell, 5, 8 years later, where, especially if you were with someone for 28 years, where you're just going to have a memory or a random positive feeling or a random angry feeling or sad feeling come up. It's inevitable. I woke up the other evening in the middle of the night, and I was thinking about sitting in Mrs. Williams' class in 4th grade. She was our math teacher. We would rotate classrooms for math for a few other classes. And I had Mrs. Williams, and she was a fucking chain smoker, but she was everybody's favorite. Well, we had 2 favorite teachers in 4th grade, and she was awesome. And I remember I woke up this other morning, and I remember that I said something in class. I don't even remember what the hell it was, and I was so embarrassed by what I said. And I woke up the other night, and I hadn't had that memory and probably since it originally happened. And I felt so embarrassed the other night. And I have some tools that I use. I didn't turn on the light and start journaling. I didn't really need to. I have some tools that I can use without journaling. And I did it for this random memory that had the emotional charge of embarrassment attached to it from 4th grade. I'm a 58-year-old man. So that would have been, 4th grade is roughly what, 10. That would have been 48 years ago. Okay, so in answer to the question from the person saying, hey, from Laura saying, I'm, out of a 28-year marriage, and on the rare occasion, I long for my extreme taker. That's going to happen. All right? So when you long for that person, write them a love letter. Don't send it. Write them a lust letter if it's that kind of longing. Allow those feelings. Welcome those feelings. Okay? Just welcome the feelings and write them out. Journal about them. Allow yourself to feel them. The goal with stray feelings or feelings that overwhelm you, with any memory that has an emotional charge, the goal is up and out. Up and out. It's like trains coming into a station. Just welcome that emotion. Welcome the train into the station. The trains let people off. People come onto the train, and the train goes choo, choo, choo out of the station till eventually chugga, 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 poof. It's gone on the horizon. But if you try to block it from entering the train station, eventually you're going to have a whole lot of backed up trains spilling diesel outside your station. Just welcome it. It's natural. You're going to have memories. And actually, give thanks for some good memories. If you were with an extreme taker and you have the occasional random good memory, give thanks for some good memories, welcome them, flush them out, and you'll discover that they just go away. All right.
Sven, that was great, because I often think, geez, 50 years ago I said the wrong thing, and it makes me embarrassed.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's human. That's all of us. There is every single one of us. Or it makes you angry, or it makes you sad. Or I still have a memory that I have to process every now and then regarding my mom, where I embarrassed her. And I feel I was like 12, and I'm mad at myself. I get mad at myself, of all people, because she was like one of the most harmless people. I had harmless parents, and I get mad at myself for that. And so I still have to process that now and then. The guilt and shit like that. No, that's human. It's human. All right. I have a question over here on Facebook from David Poteet. I'm dating someone that everyone, including my therapist, say is a narcissist. Now, on my show, we call them extreme takers. So I'm just going to make that little flipper right there. I'm dating someone that everyone, including my therapist, says is a narcissist/extreme taker. I have a lot of anxiety caused by this. I've also been told I'm trauma bonded to her. How do I break that and stop holding hope that things will get better? All right, David. What's interesting is you say, I'm dating someone that everyone, including my therapist, says is a narcissist. I have a lot of anxiety caused by this. Do you have anxiety caused by them being a narcissist? Or do you have an anxiety from all these people talking in one ear, telling you how shitty she is? What's the real source of your anxiety? Now, I'm willing to bet that it's both because of how you end it. You say, how do I break that? I've also been told I'm trauma bonded to her. And you say, how do I break that? Which says you buy into the notion that you're trauma bonded. But if you're having to cite those other people who are telling you this, including your therapist, that tells me you either don't see it or you don't want to see it. But then you say in your final sentence, how do I break that? Presumably the trauma bond. And stop holding hope things will get better. So you saying stop holding hope things will get better says you do hope things will get better. And if you're hoping things will get better, that means you know that things are shit. So what's causing you anxiety isn't that everyone is saying it. It's that everyone is reminding you of what you already know. And her treatment of you is causing you anxiety, and it's causing you sadness. So you're saying, how do I break that bond that you have with her and stop holding hope things will get better? You have to ask yourself one fundamental question. This isn't going to cure the whole equation, but you definitely need to ask yourself one fundamental question, David. And the question is, what is your single greatest fear in this whole equation? And I would bet my left testicle, if Vegas would give me odds, that your single greatest fear is that if you walk away from her, A, maybe you'll hurt her feelings, B, it'll hurt your own feelings, but you hate the idea of being alone with all those voices inside of you that say, see, you're unlovable. See, you're not good enough. See, you couldn't make that work. See, you failed. See, there you go. You don't matter. Always told you you're going to end up alone. I'm willing to bet that those voices inside of you tear you up inside. And so rather than face those voices, you're going to hold on to shitty love. And this is why, folks, your therapist tells you in between breakups, take some time to get used to being alone. Take a year. It's like, no, I want to get into my next relationship. I just want to feel good, because feel good equals problem solved. No. And because the more you get used to being alone, but especially flushing out all the fears that you're having to face, all those voices, the more you do that work, especially using my tools, like my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup and everything else, the more you get those out, the less afraid you are of being alone and sitting with those voices that say, see, you suck, see, you're not lovable. Because when you have those voices inside that attack you from inside, those voices that have been there, that you were conditioned to believe about yourself, you're unlovable, you're no good the way you are, etc. When you have those voices, if you're afraid of them, when you're alone, you're going to hold on to shitty love. You're going to let someone mistreat you. You're going to let them walk over you. You're going to say, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, it'll get better. And you'll keep hoping and hoping and hoping it gets better. Why? Because you're terrified. The question you need to ask yourself, David, is what is the grand fear in all of this? Because it is that fear. It is that motherfucking fear that keeps you in a shitty relationship with someone who is acting as an extreme taker towards you, taking advantage, and all your friends see it and your therapists see it, and they just love you so much and they care about you and they want to see you care about you. But you can't even care about you because you're so afraid. You're so afraid. And it is always fear, folks. It is always fear. All right. Moving right along. Kristen asks a very simple question is there anyone who has not had to wrestle with this question at one point or another? Kristen, I'm going to take your question here on TikTok. How do I get over the one that got away? It was timing and distance. Oh, Kristen. Kristen, if I were to begin to enumerate all the great women in my life that got away, oh, Lord, there's Lisa, there's Selena, there's Tanya, there's, well, both of my wives, shoot. How do you get over it? You grieve the fuck out of it. And you guys have heard me, if you follow my show, you've heard me say this a million times. If you're ever trying to let go of something, if you're ever trying to get rid of something, sort of get past it, hold on as tightly as you can. Hold on. And what I mean by that is bring those feelings up. You feel those fucking feelings. And you journal about it and you say, and you write that person letters. I miss you so much. God, it would have been so great. I so fucked up. And God, the distance, fuck the distance. I hate distance. And, and that sucks so bad. And you keep writing them letters that you don't send. And you journal about it. You welcome all those feelings. Welcome it, holding on to all those feelings. And you hold on as tightly as you can in all those feelings. Don't send the letters because you'll embarrass yourself and you'll regret it later. But if you want to send the letters, send the letters. I just don't recommend it. I sent the letters. Very embarrassing. But go ahead and send the letters. Don't send the letters. Anyway, you write these fucking letters and you flush it out. That's you holding on tightly. And eventually your grip will begin to open effortlessly. Why? Because you've begun to let go of the feelings. What keeps you connected is it's just like the question we answered a little bit ago of how do you get over, those sort of occasional memories of the 28-year relationship. You just flush it out. Bring the train into the station. Let the passengers off. Get new passengers on. Get that train moving. Just keep flushing it out. All right. He Boo says, why would you rather stand up during your lives? Stand-up. I'm like, what the heck? Stand-up comedy? What? Why would I rather stand up? Those of you, I don't know how many listeners we have from when Rob and I and Casey first started doing the podcast 3.5 years ago. But I used to do lives out in the woods where I shoot all my videos. In fact, I'm going to start redoing those again. I used to do all these before we started doing the podcast. And it was actually KC who said, why don't we just turn those fucking things into part of our podcast? And so I started doing these stand up. And so why do I like to stand up? I don't know. It's just my energy. I don't know. I like to move around. Rob sort of gave me the first look when I brought that up because I used to do all these sitting down. Rob's like, yeah, sure, we can, but you're a fucking freak. He didn't say that, but I know he was thinking it.
So perceptive.
And Michelle Gen X Wig Talk is being quite clever here when she says all those people that got away from me. She says they probably left because you bet your testicles. Oh, aren't you a clever one? You're probably right. Cindy Knight Gen X says my greatest fear, and it's literally, and I have already had to face, and it's literally sucking the life out of me. All right, so this is it, folks. The thing that we fear. And I'm going to take that as a question, Cindy Knight. I'm going to sort of take it not as your question, but there is a question implicit in that I'm going to infer into it. And it piggybacks on the one I was answering a minute ago. Is we have that fear of that being alone and facing all those voices. But I did a video on this recently. I think I did just this last week or something. If not, I'll do a new one on it. But it's not your biggest fear that you fear the most. Whether it's fear of loneliness, fear of failure, fear of death, fear of the unknown, fear of medical issues, you think that's your greatest fear. Fear of your parents not approving of you, fear of your kids not liking you when they get to be 28. Whatever it is, that's not your greatest fear. Your greatest fear is always the fear after that. or maybe the second or third fear after that. It's not the fear of failure. What you fear is, well, then what happens? What's the fear you fear happening after the failure? Oh. What you fear, usually, at least with fear of failure, is what I ask people, what's the one sentence you most fear someone saying to you or thinking if you do, in fact, fail? The one sentence above all else. And I'll ask them to play with ideas, and we'll drill down. And sometimes it's some derivative of, see, I told you didn't have it in you, or, God, what a loser, or, yeah, I always told you were no good, or whatever it is. It's always something along those lines. And then I ask this question, and who's the one person, living or dead, most likely to say that? And usually they blurt it right out, or they think about it, and they say it. And I say, that is this one sentence that is keeping you from living your best life, and that is the one person who fucking owns you. It's not your greatest fear that is your greatest fear. It's the fear after it. And what we fear is that if this great thing happens, this being abandoned, this failure or whatever, we are convinced it would be a fate worse than death. We are convinced all life would end. But the more we do this healing work, the more we get in the habit of learning how to bring those trains into the station, flush it out, the more we get in the habit of going down into the vault where we've pressed down all of our memories that have those emotional charges, and go down in there and begin to look at all of the core beliefs we were taught to believe about ourselves that are just bullshit. The more we get used to going in there and getting that stuff out and getting it up and getting it out, bringing it up and getting it out, the more we do that, the better we get at it, and the more we're prepared to handle life's traumas and life's hardships, so that when we do have those failures, when we do have the death of a dream, when we do have the death of a relationship, when we do have the actual literal death of someone we love, we have the tools in place to bring up the crud and flush it out, to heal ourselves. So all of a sudden, yes, we still have some fears, but we no longer see them as a fate worse than death, because we know that in the end, I'll be okay. That's the difference between believing that I can't live because I have this grand fear, and knowing that no matter what happens, I can trust that I'll be okay. All right, next question. Cheryl Ann over on Facebook asked the question, have you ever worked with someone who lost their parent at an early age and then was raised by the other parent who put pressure on you to be their emotional caretaker? Yes, I have. More times than I could count. And their baggage drained them. Have you ever raised someone who lost their parent at an early age and then was raised by the other parent who put pressure on you, the child, to be their emotional caretaker and have their baggage drained the child? I have a specific example, but I'm trying to ask hypothetically. Does this commonly end with an extreme taker personality? It can break one of two ways. It can break any number of ways, but this person is experiencing their own emotional needs not being honored. This child is, that they are being used as the shit stick, as the dumping ground for this adult. This adult is using them. I'm going to pump all of my crud into your love cup. Your responsibility, child, is to pour love into my love cup and to let me dump all my crud into your love cup. This is what we call a shitty parent. That's actually a technical term. Okay? That is bad parenting. In good parenting, the parent exists to pour love into the child's love cup. The parent exists to extract any crud and to teach the child how to extract crud from their own love cup. The parent does not exist to put crud into the child's love cup, their own pain, their own suffering, and I've heard parents talk of all sorts of shit. I've had clients in adulthood talk about, my mom shared all of her mortgage problems and her rent problems. My dad was telling me about his sexual issues with his girlfriend. I've heard it all. And so you asked the question, so does this commonly end with an extreme taker personality? Well, what's happening is that the child is being robbed of their sense of significance, their sense of worth, their sense of mattering. All that matters is the parent who's raising the child, supposed to be raising the child, and not the child. Well, the child is experiencing the death, the sadness, the loss of one parent. That alone is massive trauma for a child that is obviously not being helped by the other parent, obviously. On top of it, they're having all of the parent who is left behind, all of their stuff dumped onto them, the child. And so so that's what's happening to that child. So the child is getting the message, I don't matter. I'm not good enough. I'm insignificant. I exist to serve other people, or my whole life has been about meeting this other person's needs. Now, so that can break either as an extreme taker. So if I'm going to get love, I got to steal it wherever I can get it, because otherwise people will just siphon it from me. That's what my childhood was, just having my parent just taking and taking and taking from me. So I got to steal it. I got to take it from any source I can get because it's in short supply. So you can definitely see how someone as a child trying to survive is just trying to get love from any source they can. It makes total sense. And so that became the survival mechanism as a child, and that became patterned as childhood and teenage years, and then in adulthood, that what was a survival mechanism becomes it's been habitual. So now they're still stealing it because they still have this belief that love and confirmation of worth is in short supply. And what originally began as not the intent to do harm becomes very harmful, especially now as they move into adulthood. However, that exact same childhood could lead to an extreme giver. Someone who is conditioned to believe I only will ever have a chance of having worth by giving, and serving others. So then this person believes they're trying to get love and believes the only way they can get it is just by giving away their entire sense of self. So someone going through a traumatic childhood, that could break in either direction. Extreme taker, extreme giver, or somewhere in the middle. Or maybe they get, sort of taken under the wing of someone who teaches them another path. But yes, it could definitely be someone becoming an extreme taker out of that. And remember, that person doing that in childhood is a child just trying to survive. You can hardly begrudge a child for doing that in childhood. But if they don't see the harm that they're causing in adulthood and take steps to change it, well, that's on them as an adult. And you want to get away from a person like that. All right, we're going to come back and answer more questions right after this short break.
I had a really good start in my life, and I've been successful in my career, but I have to say I've learned so much and improved my outlook on life since I met Sven and picked up a copy of Badass Wisdom. With the daily meditations as journaling prompts, I've uncovered a lot of memories that weren't totally pleasant. With Sven's guidance, I've achieved some new understanding, and honestly, I feel lighter. Badass Wisdom is a great read, in nice small bites, and I think anyone can benefit from it. So go to badasscounseling.com and get the book or the audiobook. It could change your life.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
All right, it's great to have you back. This is the Badass Counseling Show, Lightning Round. We are live right now on TikTok, on Facebook, and over on YouTube. It's great to have everyone sending in so many questions here. This is really fantastic. I'm going to take a quick one here on TikTok. Then I'm going to send it over to Rob. He's going to read me a question from there on YouTube. Did I say that? Did that come out right?
Yep.
Okay. My ears didn't work as well as my mouth was working, which is often the inversion. Anyway, 007 asks on TikTok, how do you learn to become vulnerable? There's that mouth again. Now the mouth
Starting
is
to sound like me.
Yeah, now the mouth is fucking off. All right. How do you learn to become vulnerable about anything or anyone? It is such a foreign word to me. That is such a great question. And I'm going to start at the end of the answer. I want to tell you one of the single greatest lines I ever heard from a client. This ranks in my top 5 lines ever said by a client ever. It was a doctor, a woman, client of mine from down south, and I had worked with her, and she had her own practice, and she had multiple sites and a bunch of employees. A very successful woman, and just a great woman, great gal, down to earth, and so forth. A tough outer shell, and so forth. And we worked together for I'd say 3-4 months, and massive. She's the type where it's like, Sven, I'm hiring you because I want results now. I don't want to go to a normal therapist and get fucking results in 3 fucking years, maybe, some results, maybe. I want results now. So you bust my balls and I'll do whatever homework you give me. And I always give homework, right? She says, I'll do whatever you tell me. And she did, to her credit. Worked together for about 3 months. And she came back about 3 months for sort of an injection of Sven. And then came back about 3 months later. And it was that second time she came back. She made this comment. She was talking about her work and she was talking about her personal life. She was talking about her life in general. And she said this, I'm in referring to her whole life, she says, I'm more vulnerable in life, but I feel less vulnerable. Think about that. I'm more vulnerable in life, but I feel less vulnerable. So back to your question, 007 here on TikTok. How do you learn to become vulnerable about anything or anyone? It's such a foreign word to me. The reason that the idea of vulnerability is so foreign to you is because it's the opposite of, it goes hand in hand with safety. And what you've experienced is the opposite of that, unsafe. You've experienced vulnerability. The opposite of vulnerability is protection, is protected and hiding and armor and weapons. You've felt attacked. You've been attacked. Your little spirit, your little soul, likely since you were very young, has been attacked, criticized, put down, micromanaged, helicoptered, whatever it is. You've gotten the message that you aren't safe, or perhaps that your life around you isn't safe, but who you really are is down deep inside. And you had to stuff it way down deep inside. You put it in an old cigar box, wrapped it up in duct tape, stuck it way down deep inside of you, under the bed next to the Christmas sweaters. And you've had to become whoever the hell you had to become on the surface to either avoid criticism or to gain approval. And so the idea of being vulnerable is foreign to you because it would require going down and getting that cigar box, cutting open the tape and letting some of that out. But what is required then is to create safe space around you. And that's not physical space, safe space around you. What it means is safe space inside of you first. It means beginning to go in and dive into you and find out where those voices are inside of you that are attacking you from within. And the more you begin to get those out inside, the more you're creating safe space inside of you and around you. Then it's safe to bring up and be vulnerable, to use your words, to bring your authentic self up in the slightest of wants, in the slightest of here are what my fears are, here are what my expectations or hopes are. In my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, I talk about the difference between brutal honesty and radical honesty. Vulnerability is radical honesty. Brutal honesty is just going around saying, well, this is what's wrong with you, this is what's wrong with you, and this is what's wrong with you, and you're a peckerhead. Okay, radical honesty is where I'm in a connection, relationship with a friend, a lover, whatever, and I'm saying, here's what's wrong with me. Here are my fears, and here are my dreams. It's being okay, but you can only do that as you go inside and get out your fears and begin to go in and explore what you are conditioned to believe about yourself. And you do that, and that's what I wrote my book for, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, to walk you through that exact process so that your natural self will begin to come out effortlessly. Why? Because you've removed those attacking voices that you've had to shield yourself from with that sort of fake self. All right, next question. Rob, give it to me from YouTube.
All right, Sven. On YouTube, Chance wrote in and said, my son's mom, and my son is 16 months old. The mom is a fearful avoidant. I asked him to eliminate the psychological jargon, which he went on and did. He says, I'm anxious. We've been together 7 years. She made me move out in December. Since then, when she has him, she wants me over there and we're happy in a healthy family. But then when I have him, she goes out and gets drunk. This has been happening the last couple of months. I said something about it today and she blew up and said we are done for good. Any suggestions?
Chance, my first question would be to you, and I'm not saying this to be a dick, all right? It may sound a little dickish, but it is badass counseling, but I'm not trying to do harm, okay? You two are you're not living together, you're living apart, and she's, inviting you over to be there when she has the child, but when you have the child, she goes out and basically blows her brains out getting liquored up and so forth, right? And you take issue with that. My first question would be, what do you fucking care? Why do you care what your co-parent does when you have your child? What do you give a shit? They could fly to the moon. They could go smoke a pack of cigarettes. They could go, fucking motorboat on, somebody's belly. Whatever. I don't know where that came from. The point is, I was thinking go water skiing. But anyway, the point is, why do you care? And the truth is this, though, isn't it, Chance? You care because you're still hoping that there'll be a relationship. Every time she calls you over, when she has the child, you're thinking, oh, maybe the relationship is going to happen. And in fact, that's how she ended it, right? She said to you, oh, that's it. The relationship's over. That's what you were holding out hope for. That's what really fucking hurt. This isn't about the child and the rearing of the child. This is about you were holding out hope for the relationship, and you want her to stop going out drinking. You want her to come over and be with you because you want the fucking relationship. This isn't about the parenting. This is you just want the relationship, and she doesn't want it, and you're trying to control what she does because you want her to be yours in the relationship. And the bottom line is, if she's going out and doing that shit, what she's fundamentally saying is, I don't want to be with you. And it sounds to me like when she has the child, she wants you over if for no other reason than to help her out and to entertain the child, and she doesn't want to do it herself. And the reason you keep going over there, in part, I'm sure you love your child, so that's obviously part of it, but is you keep holding out hope that she's going to want you back. What you need to do, Chance, is you need to start writing her letters that you don't send. Tell her how much you love her, how much you miss her, but you are fundamentally, otherwise, let me tell you what's going to happen. And I guarantee you a whole lot of folks also listening to this on Facebook and TikTok and they're on YouTube. A whole lot of folks are like, oh, yeah, I've been there. She is pulling you in and she's pushing you away. She's pulling you in and she's pushing you away. She's saying, okay, that's it. We're done. Don't be surprised, Chance, if in about a week, 2, 4 weeks, she says, okay, well, maybe you can come back over. Well, maybe we're a little bit back together. Pulling you close, pushing you away. Pulling you close, pushing you away. And you're happy to get pulled close, but then you hate it when you're pushed away and you're like, well, what's wrong? What do I need to do? What's this? What's different? She's just fucking jerking you around. And the bottom line is, Chance, you don't want relationships like that. You think you want her. And I've been there. You think she's the woman for you. You think you'll never be happier with someone else. I have been there, dude. And I'm telling you, you will be so much happier with someone else. Not because this woman is a bad person. I'm not saying that. But because what you'll find is if you do the work to heal you, you'll find someone who's better suited to who you have become. If you do the work to heal you, you will find someone who is better suited to who you have become. Furthermore, you will find someone where the love flows. Doesn't mean it's all rainbows and cotton candy out your butthole. What it means is that this person is just as invested in giving love to you as you are wanting to give love to them. But it's not this person. She's jerking you around, Chance. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but she's fucking jerking you around.
Chance says, that's fair. I get it. And thank you.
Yeah, you bet, my man. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. We've all been there. All right, next question. Cheryl Ann Blanc, by the way, Chance says over here on Facebook, and I think she's probably talking to you, so sad. She sees her child as almost her spouse. It's a strange relationship for sure. That makes sense. Could go either way. Maybe. That might be intended for you, or there might be a sub-conversation here. Sorry. All right. Jill asked the question here on TikTok, how do I give my adult kids your book without implying they are train wrecks? Well, Jill, I got to be honest with you. My first question to you would be, why do you want to give your children my book? That would be my first fucking question to you. I mean, I think it's a fantastic book. It's the greatest book ever invented. I think it will make them so happy. It'll change their lives forever. Of course, naturally, I'm going to say that. But why do you want to give them my book? That's the real question. Before you ask how can you give them the question without you telling them that they are train wrecks. And just for the record, folks, as a similar but unrelated but related thing, and that is anytime you tell your child, have you really considered doing this, or you should do that, or why don't you do that? What you're fundamentally conveying to the child, even if you do it to a friend or a lover, what you're fundamentally conveying, or it could definitely be received this way, but if we're being really honest, this is what you're saying. I don't like you the way you are. I want you to be this over here. Think about that. You should really try this, or, maybe you ought to do this instead. Well, on one hand, it comes across as, I'm just trying to help. Bullshit. You don't like them the way they are. You're trying to change them. And the other person senses that. And depending on how good they are at putting their feelings into words, they could literally say, you just don't fucking like me the way I am. You're like, no, I'm not saying that. And it's like, well, your underlying message actually is saying precisely that. That's why we don't shoot on people, right? All right. Jill follows up by saying, I asked, well, why do you want to give them the book? And you said, because they are going through some hard times. Let me ask you, Jill, because she said, how do I give your book to my kids without them thinking that I think they're a train wreck? And I said, why do you want to give it to them? She said, because they're going through some hard times. I said, well, that's nice. Honestly, I would follow up with this question, a more straightforward question. Do you think your children are somewhat, a little bit, Jill, a little bit? Do you think they're train wrecks? If you were being totally honest. But I'm going to give you the straight answer. I know you want your children to go for the home run and read There's a Hole in My Love Cup, which is a life-changing book. And there's about 1,600 reviews of it on, and she says, yes, my son, yes, I do see him as a train wreck. Well, at least you're being honest. So yeah, I guarantee he has already gotten that message. He already feels it from you. All right? And the best thing you can bring to your son, Jill, is a whole lot of love. And she says, but not my daughter. And you need to examine that to make sure that is actually authentic, or if you show a bias towards your daughter, an inherent bias. And furthermore, does your son know that you see him as a train wreck and that you don't see your daughter that way? And does he see her as the golden child? Furthermore, maybe your daughter has pain that you're not seeing. However, to answer your question straight up, start him on Badass Wisdom. That's how you do it. Do you want to know why? Because it's not a straight up therapy book. If I want someone to do deep self-therapy, I'd give them a love cup. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. But if I want to give them a nice introduction to my method and also something that'll challenge them each day, I'd give them Badass Wisdom, because it comes off as rather benign, but it is a deep book. Then if they get a sort of hard on for the, how I think and some of those questions, then move them into the Love Cup. Or the other thing that you can do, if you have adult kids, is get them started on just send them the occasional random TikTok. Don't just send them my shit, but send them a few funny ones and, oh, here's this other guy. But send them some of my TikToks. I generally recommend that because a lot of kids respond more to a 1 minute or 2 minute video, something like that. But that would be a good way to start. All right, next question. Oh, here we go. Love this question. Here we go, folks. Juicy one. Here we go. Juicy. All right. User 487-159-0094 something. Is it okay for a married woman that has cheated in the past to have a single male, quote unquote, friend? And they put friend in quotes. All right. So, is it okay for a married woman that has cheated in the past to have a single male, quote unquote, friend? All right. You put the word friend in quotes. I did not do that. You put it in quotes, which means either you know they're not just friends or you fear they're not just friends, but you're already categorizing this as something other than just a friend. All right? And has a single male friend. You ask, is it okay? If I'm being totally honest with you, you're asking the wrong person. The person you need to be asking is you. And the truth is, you wouldn't be positing that question on TikTok, on a social media feed, live stream question to Badass Counseling unless you already feel like it is not okay. And I got to be honest with you, it would trip me out too. I got to be honest with you, for me personally, it's like, no fucking way. And do you want to know why? It's not because this person is inherently going to cheat and it's going to lead to bad things. But it's this word optics. First, it's optics. It's just like, I'm going to pretend that your girlfriend or wife or married, your wife. Oh, Jesus, it's your wife. I missed the married part. I said it, but I'm going to just assume your wife's name is Susie. All right. Susie doesn't give a fuck how it looks. She doesn't care. You say she has cheated in the past. Now I'm going to assume that is she has cheated on you. She gives so little of a shit about you that she doesn't give a fuck how it looks, that she has a single male friend. She is fundamentally saying, fuck you. I don't care. Fuck you. Furthermore, I would want to know what precisely, Susie, is the need you are getting met by a single male friend that you are not getting met by your husband. No, I'm really curious here. A single male friend, a married woman. And does it intrinsically mean she is going to cheat? No, it doesn't mean that. Is it possible for a married woman who has cheated before to have a strictly platonic relationship with a single male friend? Yes, of course it is. It is possible. However, there ain't anybody. I know. I'm going to put this. I'm going to open it up to the peanut gallery. I'm going to open this up to the peanut gallery. This is on all platforms. The question is simply this: does anyone believe that? No, here's how I'm going to phrase the question. Say, if you were in this relationship and you were user 487-159-009, et cetera, if any of you were in this situation, would you be cool with your spouse who has cheated on you in the past having a friendship with a partner of the attracted sex, the sex that they are attracted to? Would you be okay with that? Go ahead and weigh on that peanut gallery. Rebecca Hubble says, hell no. Jen 908 says, nope. Erica Greer says, no. And, here's a good one. This is from, fuck no, from MRRX Squad. 007 says, if I did that, and I have, it's because I don't give a fuck about your feelings. Wait in the boat. Nah. Jill, hell no. Yeah, hell no. Big nope. Buffy says nope. Okay, you get the idea. Matt, negative. All right. Too much attention is required. Jen 908. Patty, thumbs down. Nope. From an angel's touch. All right. You get the idea.
Hey, Sven, if you haven't cheated, is it okay to have a friend of the opposite gender or the attracted gender?
It's always okay. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with it. The real question is, why are you doing this to the person you love? Is it okay?
Because they cheated. Why are you doing this?
Yes. But also, okay, so my girlfriend, does she have friends? She has so many friends that are men, but she's a 62-year-old woman. I'm a 58-year-old man. We've been both around the block so many times. And the truth is, if she wants to cheat, she's going to cheat. If she wants to have a relationship, I believe she would have the decency to tell me. And quite frankly, I'd actually consider letting her have it. But we're old. And it's just like, I believe in her enough that I believe in her character. And I think you know my girlfriend well enough that I think she would have the decency to just tell me to my face. And we'd talk it out and so forth. But it's mind-numbing. Is it okay? It's up to you, the individual. And the real question is this a breach of contract? It's really not even about cheating per se. Is it breach of contract? Think about that. And Rob, you do me a favor, make a note of this. Yep. Just on a separate piece of paper. After you've been cheated on once, in the drawing up of the new contract, what is the contract? What are the terms in the new contract that gets drawn up? Because this is what we're looking at. She cheated on you before, and here she is now having a male friend. She's just giving you the big fucking middle finger.
That's the key, right? Because I have female friends, and I worry about how, like, my girlfriend might take this. But, I have a clear head about it, and she's cool. But I sometimes wondered, is this bad optics?
Right. And as long as you are forever checking in with the other person, and it doesn't mean that I let this other person control me per se, but it means I give enough of a shit that I'm willing to talk it out and I'm willing to listen. And I'm at least open to considering that if it were a big enough deal, yeah, I would consider at least pulling back or spending less time or having the friendship together. And the truth is with my girlfriend, if she wanted these friendships, she knows she'd say, hey, if you want to come along on any of these, you're welcome to come along. She had an ex-lover who was sort of sniffing around the edges and a bit. And I just reached out to him and I said, man, I'd love to meet you. You're just acting a little weird though. You're sniffing around the edges. Her ex-husband, he came right out and he introduced himself and he was gentlemanly about it, shook my hand, and her ex-husband and I have become actually really good friends. Hell, Rob, you know him. And, and he's a good friend. Hell, he even went on a vacation with us once because they share a daughter and shit like that. But it's like, shit, if you're sniffing around the edges, then yeah, man, you're creeping me out. You're creeping all of us out,
And be open. Like when your partner comes in the room, don't slam your computer shut as if you're hiding something.
Right. And if you start acting weird, and we're sort of belaboring this question, but the bottom line is, yeah, someone's engaged in fuckery with you, my friend. All right. Now I'm trying to get back to a question there. I got it on Facebook. This is one I was wanting to get to. M asks the question over on Facebook. Is it possible to have a relationship with my sister who is still in denial about the abuse we endured as children? I don't see how we could develop emotional intimacy when we live in two separate realities. Well, M, first of all, hi. The simple fact that you're asking this question says that you want a relationship with your sister. You wouldn't be asking it unless you wanted a relationship or unless she wants a relationship and you're feeling skittish about it, okay? So you got to answer that question. It's a simple question. Do I want one? But the mere fact, even if she's the one pressing for it, the mere fact that you're having this much sort of internal Sturm and Drang over it says that a part of you wants a relationship with your sister. So then the follow-up question that you need to ask yourself before you even address the question that you brought up is you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why am I wanting this relationship with my sister? Now, on one hand, the surface answer is, well, she's my sister. No. What is the need that's being met? Or what is the emptiness you're experiencing in your life right now? Or what is the fear if I don't have this relationship? Now, I'm betting there's some sort of emptiness in your life right now. I'm just speculating. And potentially a fear as well. And you've got to name that. And will this relationship... are you taking back your sister, you're reigniting a relationship, because you're saying, is it possible to have a relationship with a sister who's still in denial? Or you're considering terminating it, whatever. But you've got to ask yourself, do I want to have this relationship? Will it meet this need? Or do I just want to enjoy the person for who they are? And really, that's what love is. You want someone who loves you for who you are. Your sister wants someone who loves her for who she is. Can you love your sister for who she is, warts and all? And the giant wart in the center of your sister's forehead is that she is in denying the abuse that you both went through. And you've got to ask yourself, can I still love her for who she is? And maybe what you guys do is you just silo. You put in a silo the abuse that the two of you shared, and you say, you know what, we're going to have a relationship and let it be everything except that. Now, if you can't have that, if you can't do that, and if she can't do that, then no, you can't have a relationship. But it sounds like you are wanting her to admit and to acknowledge and to talk about the abuse that you went through as if you need that to confirm your own reality. Are you wanting that relationship with her so as to confirm your reality of the abuse? Or are you just wanting to love on your sister and wanting her to love on you? Can you silo the abuse and just enjoy your sister for who she is? Because if you can't, then no, you probably can't have a relationship with her without it going tits up. And so, but you can have a relationship with your sister if you can silo it and just say, she's not ready to face the abuse. And she may be never able to, but I love my sister and I want to be close to her in every single way. And this is a heads up for all of us, especially, people who are cutting off a parent or whatever. I am so in favor of cutting off a parent if you need to. It's an individual decision, and it's one of life's most difficult decisions. But there is another option, and I'm not selling it. I'm just saying it's there. I did it with my father because I adored my father, but there was one thing. He just couldn't meet my needs to feel seen and understood. But back in those days, we didn't really think in those terms of cutting off a parent, or at least I didn't. And I had to just accept my father is never going to meet that need. But I love my father for everything else. And so I just sort of accepted that. And I realized that in that one area, he needed to be seen and understood. And so he was the child and I was the adult as he was going into his 70s and 80s. And I guess I loved him so much that I was willing to meet that need for him, and knowing that he was never going to meet that need for me, and that I just loved him for everything else. And so that worked for me. Doesn't work for everybody else. But for you in this case, if you can silo it, and if she can silo the abuse you both went through, and what you may find, if you can do that, the day may come. It may not, but the day may come because of your love and because of you not pushing her, that maybe she does open up and start to stop denying, start opening up to the abuse and so forth. And maybe she never will, but you've got to assume she won't and just accept her for who she is, because that's what love is. Rob, any questions over there on YouTube?
I do. I'm going to try to make this a little more concise.
Sure.
This person could certainly use some words of wisdom from you, Sven. This is Dusty Plasma. Can barely get out of bed, extremely fearful of humans, seemingly out of nowhere after assault, but I finally figured it out. But I've been reading, doing workbooks. Anyway, pretty sure I have it figured out. However, I feel stuck in depression and PTSD symptoms. Leaving my room hurts somatically because of cruel sibling and husband. Any good words for Dusty?
Dusty, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Even more than that, I'm so sorry for what you have gone through that has brought you to this point. Truly. It has to have been a massive amount of pain and hurt, and what was done to your spirit that you were taught to believe about yourself, bullshit things that you were taught to believe about yourself. I'm sorry. I want to reframe one thing, though, just one piece before I sort of get to a little bit of a thought for you to consider to help you find consolation and maybe even bring a bit of healing. And one thought to consider is I very much believe that often, not always, but depression is a gift from our own soul. I know that sounds weird. And I have been in a 12-year, very, 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 very worst kind of depression. The worst kind. Yeah, the kind where you want to do that. Depression is the soul calling us down into ourselves because the soul is on overload from a lifetime of all of that. And the soul calls us down to cocoon, to heal, to create quiet, because that's what the soul needs. Because any more stimulation is too much. Your love cup has been packed with so much crud and pain and manure and rocks and pebbles and coal and dust and ugly things. And what has to be gone into when you're ready, and there's no rush. You said you've done some workbooks and so forth. That's fantastic. And that's a courageous act, and I applaud you for that. I do. Because a lot of people down there in that depression can't do it. It's too much. It's too scary. So the fact that you've done that is actually impressive, and I do applaud you for that. But you are down there, and you're where you need to be. That is a good place to be, in that cocoon. Okay? But what has to be gone into is bit by bit, just inch by inch. And I know it can seem daunting at first, but you have to go in. And what you have inside of you is you have a cup stuffed with memories that have emotional charges attached to them. You have to begin to decharge those memories. But also, more powerfully, you have been taught a core belief system, all of it total bullshit, that you've been taught to believe about yourself. And until you go down deep inside of you and begin to name the beast. My mother used to say this. She died at the age of 93. Wise old woman. My grandmother, wise old woman on a Native American reservation of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe and the Mdewakanton Sioux. And then on a Jewish Christian commune. I come from a long line of wise old women. And Mom used to say, you have to name the beast. Naming the beast is half the problem. Okay, you have these core beliefs that you've been taught to believe about yourself way down deep inside of you. And the beast has not been named yet, identified. That's what I wrote my book for. There's a hole in my love cup. All of my books are for that, but this one in particular is the process to take you down into it and help you begin to name the beast. Name those core bullshit beliefs that you were taught as a child to believe about yourself. And the more you begin to name those beasts, so to speak, those core beliefs, those messages you were taught to believe about yourself, the more you begin to do that, the more you begin to defang them. It's like I had to go to the doctor today. My orthopedic doctor, I've been having an elbow issue. But let's just say I was going to the doctor, and I go into my doctor, and I hate going to the fucking doctor. I don't hate it anymore. I have very nice doctors, and I'm very blessed to be able to go to a doctor and pay $50 and get such great care. I'm very blessed. But let's say I go to the doctor and, doc, it's been 3 months and I didn't want to come in, but my gums are swollen. I got a rash on my ass and my ankle is wobbly. And it's been driving me nuts. None of them are getting any better. My doctor says, wait, you got swollen gums, you got a rash on your ass, your ankle is wobbly. Oh, you got such and such a disease. Here's a prescription for some pills. That'll be $50. Get the fuck out of my office. All right? Named the beast. Named the disease. It's when it gets named that it no longer has the power. In fact, in primitive cultures, what made the shaman so powerful was the capacity to name the affliction. And by naming it, what gets named loses its power. It's actually fascinating in doctor-patient relationships, is staying on that same theme. In the old days, you would refer to your doctor as Dr. Anderson, or my doctor as a child was Dr. Cohen. My dentist was Dr. Wenzel. Okay. And what would the doctor call you? When you go see your doctor, does your doctor, if I'm a clergyman, would my doctor call me Pastor Erlinson? No. Doctor calls me Sven. There's a power imbalance, isn't there? Right? By naming up, I'm giving him power, or her power, my orthopedic surgeon today. And by naming down on first name, I have less power, right? So by naming something gives us power over it. So by you going inside, Dusty, deep, deep, deep to the deepest, darkest stuff and beginning to name that stuff, it begins to have less and less power. If you listen to the counseling episodes of our show, what I often do with clients is we go deeper. They think this thing over here is their affliction. We just taped an episode today with someone who was convinced that his abusive mom was the problem. And we sort of took a hard left turn and we went over here and we found out it was the dad who didn't protect him. And I just was hammering this guy, going deeper, deeper, deeper. And at the end, what did he report, Rob? What did he say he felt at the very end? Do you remember?
Relief.
Relief, because we named a beast that he didn't even know was there. And it's as if we had taken 100-pound rock off the burlap sack on his back. You've got to go deep inside. And the more you do that, and again, I recommend my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. The more you do that, and it's available on audiobook, ebook, whatever, or paperback. Just go to the website, badasscounseling.com. The more you do that, the lighter you will become. And you will begin to literally, you can feel it physically. You will have more energy. You will have greater clarity. You'll literally begin to have more spontaneous energy, etc. All right. We're going to take just one more question, and then we're going to call it a night. Rob's giving me the side eye on that one.
Have you looked at the clock?
All right.
That was lovely, by the way.
You're very gracious. Some other folks saying this. Well, it's funny. All right. I'm just going to take this one as a quickie. This is, question is the exact opposite of what M asked on, Facebook. This is over on TikTok. And Jay says, my sis talks about our abuse all the time. How can I get her to stop? M over on Facebook wants to talk about the childhood abuse that they both suffered, but her sister doesn't want to. And Jay over here on TikTok, a woman says, my sister talks about our abuse all the time. How can I get her to stop? Sounds like Jay's sister needs to meet up with M, and they could perhaps have some good conversations. All kidding aside, just say no, Jay. That's all. Just say no. Stop. Walk out of the conversation. Just say, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And the thing is, you've said that before, and she'll keep doing it, which means you don't have a hard stop. You don't have a hard boundary. And this, folks, is the closing message of the day. Setting boundaries is easy as fuck compared to holding boundaries. Are you just setting boundaries in your life, or are you holding boundaries? I get people all the time who are divorcing a spouse saying, and I say, or they want to make their relationship better. I say, you got to start standing up to your spouse. Oh, I stand up to my spouse all the time. I stand up, and then they just escalate even more. I stand up, and what do you do when they escalate? You sit back down, don't you? Yeah, I do. Exactly. You stand up, you sit down. You stand up, you sit down. No. To hold a boundary means to stand up and not back down. And the reason you're backing down from your boundaries, folks, is because you fear what will happen if you don't back down. You fear them leaving you and being left alone with all those voices inside that say, you suck. See, I'm no good. See, I'm unlovable. Well, folks, we have come to the end of our time here. This has been a delightful little adventure. I have enjoyed it. Rob, have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, I always get something out of it. And Dusty sent a hug, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I just did a post yesterday on hugs, on the regenerative power of hugs.
Love it.
Even cyber hugs. And not the weird kind, just the very nice ones. That was a very nice one, Dusty. Thank you. So anyway, thanks to everyone. Shady says, I didn't know you had native blood. I'm also a Ojibwe, Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa. I'm actually not. My grandmother, she had gray hair down to her back and very dark skin, full-blooded Swede, but she was living in northern Minnesota, and the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe and the Mdewakanton Sioux on the east side of Lake Mille Lacs, right there at Garrison. This was back in the 60s, 70s, when she was in her about 70s or 80s. They had brought her on to be the wise old woman on the Native American reservation because, for whatever reason, they didn't have someone. She had lived in the area, and she lived with them through her 70s. Then in her 80s, she had transferred up to Walker, Minnesota, to be on Arthur Katz. He had a Jewish Christian commune. But so I'm actually not Ojibwe. I do not have Native American blood, but my grandmother served that nation to the best of her ability. So I have a very great fondness for my people of northern Minnesota. And I grew up going to the Red Lake Indian Reservation because there was a church camp up there. So I spent a lot of time on the Red Lake Native American Reservation. All right, folks, that's all I know about that. It has been great having all of you here. Thanks so much. Rob, you get the final word today, my man.
We'll powwow again soon.
We shall indeed. And to all of you out there, thank you so much for your great questions. Always the best questions. It's fun to see some familiar faces, and it's really fun to get so many new faces, so many great folks coming through with your new questions and just new names coming across the feed, some of the great conversations and so forth. By the way, just a heads up, for those of you that do follow on Facebook or whether regularly or not regularly, we had an impersonator up earlier on our earlier show, also doing impersonating a Facebook or a live listed as Badass Counseling. There's actually a fake account, and someone was trying to be me. I guess they were a skinny version of me as Badass Counseling, answering people's questions. If you see that, please report it. We have reported it. Please also report it. I don't know what kind of shitbag would do that, but I don't appreciate it. And furthermore, Badass Counseling is actually trademarked, and they are using trademarked, and they have my videos, which are actually trademarked and copyrighted. So technically, I could just have one of our lawyers sue them. So I look forward to doing that. Anywho, how?
Dusty says no one else could be you, brother.
Oh, shucks. You guys. All right, this has been a treat. You guys have a happy night. Tune in for the latest episodes of the show coming up on Thursdays and Saturdays. Have a kick-ass day. Thursdays and Sundays.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.